Hello and welcome to this investor update presentation. We published our year-end report this morning. And in this presentation, we will present some key highlights from this report. And we will also give you the opportunity to ask questions. We have received a large number of pre-registered questions, so we will try to address as many of these questions as we can in the actual presentation. And the presentation part will take around 25 minutes, and then we will open up for questions. Before we start, I would like for all of you to mute your microphones. The two of us presenting today will be me, Lena Sundquist, CEO of Climeon, as well as our CFO, Arnesson. And the content of this presentation will be first a background of Climeon and where we're standing today. Then we will go through what we're doing in the maritime area. After that, we will go through what we do within energy and industry business area, followed by what we're doing in product development. Then Carl will go through some key financials, and after summary, we will open up for your questions. So starting with the background of Climeon. Many of you participating here today know Climeon quite well from a long time, but we also have some new persons here today. So especially for you, I would like to give a background of Climeon. Climeon was founded in 2011. And what we do is that we have heat power system, which converts low temperature heat into renewable electricity. And we do this with a very high efficiency, and we have a number of patents connected to our technology. We are around 45 employees, and we are located in Kista, outside Stockholm in Sweden. We have more than 40 units of our product in operation today. And the product we have in operation today is our heat power 150 units. We are now on the development of a heat power 300 system, and we'll come back to that. And connected to all our units, we also have a Climeon Live system. That is a cloud-based monitoring system, which means that we can monitor the performance of all our units globally. We are active in a number of business areas in the maritime area, where we have a number of customers. Come back to that. We are also involved in power generation to capture industrial waste heat, and also in geothermal. So this is a summary of the last quarter and where we're standing at the moment. So in maritime market area, we have a large number of ongoing customer dialogues and negotiations for our new heat power 300 unit. And we are also, in the last quarter, we also commissioned heat power 150 unit on board a Havila vessel. And we are working together with Havila for retrofit installations of more units. Within energy and industry, we also have ongoing dialogues and discussions with selective customers in this area, which we'll come back to. And also, we are implementing heat power 150 systems in a UK engine power plant. Within product development, we are continue verification and testing of the heat power 300 systems, and we are continue progressing on making this product commercially available. Within finance, Carl will give you an update regarding our cost base and also the adjustments we have done within our order backlog. So starting with what we're doing in the maritime area, two of the main trends within the marine business is fuel savings and decarbonization of ships globally. And fuel savings is for the obvious reason. Ship owners want to save cost on fuel, since fuel is a very large cost for ship owners. And decarbonization is mainly because there's coming many regulations and incentives in order for ship owners to lower their carbon emissions and making the ships more energy efficient. And the most important of those is the regulations from IMO, International Maritime Organizations. They are now enforcing regulations in order to make ships more energy efficient, and they are coming in steps and are more and more incentives is coming over time to decarbonize the ship. And end of last year, European Union also decided that the maritime business will be included in EU's emission trading scheme. So as of 2024, ship owners needs to report their CO2 emissions and start paying carbon tax. And exactly what this means for ship owners, we are now discussing this with ship owners. So calculating on together with them what this will mean in actual figures. And with Climeon heat power system, and especially the Climeon heat power 300 system, we can help ships become more fuel efficient and also lower their CO2 emissions with a very good return on investment. And we get a lot of questions regarding the sales process and where we stand in that. And here we would like to try to explain that on a general level. Within marine, the sales process starts with the ship owners because they are the ones having an incentive to reduce fuel and also to reduce CO2 emissions. So we have a large number of dialogues with ship owners, and today that's mainly European and American ship owners that we have most discussions with. And we start with them to make calculations and estimations together with them how much fuel they can save and how much CO2 they can save with our systems. And since we launched our Heat Power 300 system in September last year, we did release more technical data and more drawings on this system so we can have more in-depth discussion with ship owners and make these calculations. And when a ship owner then is interested to install this system on board, then they include either ORC system or waste heat recovery system into the shipyard specification. And then our discussions continues together with the shipyards. And to the shipyards, we also give them a lot of technical information and technical drawings of our system. And then the shipyard can calculate on the installation cost of the system and make an estimation of that. And then the ship owner, again, receives both the cost of our system, the installation cost from the shipyard, and also getting up or information from us about estimated operating cost. And that then turns into a business case for the ship owners. And we have dialogues ongoing both with ship owners and with shipyards about our new Heat Power 300 systems. And other stakeholders in this process is, for example, also design institutes, which quite often makes the design for shipyards. We also have management companies, we have government regulations, and we have certification societies. Here is other things that we do in the maritime market. So we are under installation of Heat Power 150 systems that Climeon has sold previously. So one thing we were working with in the last quarter was that we made a commissioning on board a Havila voyage vessel that was at the shipyard in Turkey. And we're also working together with Havila to make retrofit installations of 2 more units. And we have other companies, other ship owners that we work with, that is Virgin Voyages, Maersk and Viking Line, to make sure that our system works according to customer requirements on board their vessels. So continue with the energy and industry business area. As we all know, there is a growing need of electricity all the time. Basically, all over the world, there is more demand of electricity. And we can also see that the cost of electricity has gone up more or less all over the world. And we know it mainly here from Europe and from Sweden. And there's also big incentives to decrease CO2 emissions and to produce more renewable power. And that is exactly what we do in Climeon with our heat power 300 systems to produce more renewable electricity. And we have a number of focus areas in this industry. One area that we focus on is engine power plants. And the reason for that is that the technical application and the technical requirements for engine power plants is very similar to the one of installations on board marine, because the engines on land and engines on marine vessels are very similar from a technical point of view. We're also working with industries. They see that they have a lot of waste heat and they have an increasing bill of electricity. So they are interested to produce more electricity at their site and make use of the waste heat that they have there. And we also mainly focus on a selected number of countries in Western Europe in this industry. And as of 1st of March, we will have a dedicated manager heading this business area. His name is Patrik Engstrand-Kemi. He's coming from Vattenfall and he has an extremely relevant background for heading this business area, and he will be part of Climeon's management team. Here is one example of a customer that we are working with. That is Landmark Power Holdings. They are a UK-based company. And what they are doing, they are putting up engine power plants first of all in UK. They then have engines, and to those engines we can add a Climeon heat power system. So we take the waste heat from the engine and convert that into renewable electricity. So the engine together with the Climeon systems make a more energy efficient installation than just having the engine. So we can increase the electricity output from this installation with the same amount of fuel. And to these plants, Landmark also have carbon captures, which make this into a green type of electricity. And if you would like to know more about what Landmark is doing, their website address is here. They have a number of plants that they are planning going forward. Their first plant, which we have already sold Climeon heat power 150 units to previously, that is under construction now, and our heat power 150 systems will be installed during this year at this plant. End of last year, we also had the CEO of Landmark Power Holdings. He was visiting our test site in Kista to discuss future projects and also observe the ongoing testing and verifications of the heat power 300 system. So this is one example of a customer that we are working with, and this is also actually the only customer name that we have disclosed. All our customer discussions are under NDA, both for us to share more information about our technical system and also for the customers to share more information at their site, for example, of the operating hours that they are running and other technical information from their site. So we can make detailed calculations and business case evaluations of these customers. So with that, I would like to continue to product development. As I said in the beginning, and as most of you know, we're under development of the next generation of Climeon heat power system that is called Heat Power 300, and it's a product platform. And the goal for our Heat Power 300 systems is to cut the cost per produced kilowatt hour by 50% compared with our previous Heat Power 150 system. And this is something that we see now that we are achieving. So the main activities in product development in the last quarter was that we were performing tests and verification at the test site. And we did these tests based on customer data. So we take actual data from the customers, temperatures, flow rates, and we test the system according to those customer data. And this is full-scale testing of this system. And you see one of this system in the picture here. We have also produced customer drawings and technical specifications that we need in all our customer discussions. We also have certification work ongoing. And this is an area where we have also received a lot of questions. So I will describe that a bit more in detail. This Climeon Heat Power 300 system, it's developed as a product platform. And we're taking all our previous knowledge from our previous system. And one of these things is what we know regarding when it comes to certification. So this system has been decided already in advance to cope with most certification requirements that there are around the world. So what we have starting with now is that, first of all, this system will have CE approval, which we need for the European market. And other things that we need for the European market is also grid code approval. And grid code approval, you need that in order to connect the electricity produced to the grid. And grid code requirements varies from country to country and sometimes also in between local areas. So that is one of the reasons why we have selected some focus countries in Europe that we're working with now. In addition to what we do in the land-based market, we are also working on marine certification to make sure that this system is marine approved. And the certification you need when you send the system on board a vessel is dependent on the certification of that individual vessel. So, for example, if a vessel has Lloyd approval, we need to approve our system according to Lloyd's. We are now working with three marine certification bodies, that is DNV, Lloyd's, and ABS. And what we're doing there is so-called approval in principle to make sure that we live up to all their requirements. And then before we send out a unit to a ship, then we need to also approve that single unit. So we're in the process of doing that. We're also planning for ramping up and preparing our supply chain. And we have also received our first customer-ready version of Heat Power 300 to our test site. So with that, I would like to hand over to Carl for some finance update.
Thank you, Lena. First, I would like to give some light to the order backlog adjustment that we made in Q4 last year. It is related to our customer at Iceland, Varmorka, that Climeon has a history of. And during the quarter, Varmorka informed Climeon that they will choose to wind down its business operation. That message led to a write-down of the order backlog at Climeon's side of approximately 132 million SEK. And in addition to this, Climeon also has open accounts receivables towards this customer of approximately 31 million SEK. And bad debts accruals have been made previously towards this account as well. But new accruals were made during Q4 of approximately 10 million. And also we reclassified priorly made provisions into bad debt. And that also is reflected in our balance sheet for the Q4 period. As per Q4 22, we have no remaining net result exposure for this account, which means that the receivable is now fully accrued for. Of course, we will continue to monitor the receivable going forward as well. Moving on to an update of the cost development. For a company in Climeon's position, it is essential to adjust the cost base to a significantly lower level until new orders and revenues can be achieved from the new product generation. And the first step in that direction was the restructuring program that was launched in 2021. The second step in this has been to, during 2022, keep a very tight cost control and to maintain the lower cost level, and also, of course, to minimize the cash spend, so to speak. And in Q3, I updated you a bit on that we were on the right track when it comes to our cost-based plan. And with yet another quarter behind us, this situation remains. Of course, we have some one-off items related to especially the bad debt mentioned previously, but the operational cost base is according to our plan. And we have, in fact, reduced our cost base compared to previous years by approximately 30%. The size of the current organization that we have is capable to roll out the first Heat Power 300 modules and to be in line with our current business plan. So we don't see any major changes to the current cost base, short or midterm. And as previously said, the ambition has been to adjust the cost base for the different stages of the company. And that is of course to roll out the new product generation into the market. Going forward, of course, improved sales and gross margins is the most important part for Climeon. But we still feel that we feel confident that the reduced cost per produced kilowatt per hour by 50%, as Lena previously mentioned, with the new product will significantly improve the gross margins for Climeon, and also improve the payback period for our customers, which is very essential. Moving on to our cash flow development. As mentioned, as with the cost base, the last years focus have been to develop the new product generation, Heat Power 300, and that has also could have been seen in the investments that we made during the last years. And on top of that, the overall plan during this period has, of course, then been to minimize our operational cash flow up until we have launched a new product. To exemplify, we have reduced our average monthly burn rate during 2022 compared to 2021 by approximately 36%. The burn rate increased slightly during Q4, mainly due to a higher working capital related to the first the delivery of the first customer ready version of Heat Power 300, as well as that we cleared out some previous prepayments from customers. But that is also something that we see that can be compensated during the first half of 2023. So we don't see any major increase in working capital going forward. And our previous plan is as mentioned, to keep a very tight cash out when it comes to 2023. So we are on track compared to our previously set plan, and we feel confident that we can stick to this plan also for 2023. We are fully committed and focused to deliver on this plan going forward. And that will, of course, contribute to our cash flow positively going forward. Thank you. Lena?
Thank you, Carl. And a short summary. This is our current focus area and will be the focus areas going forward. What we're doing in maritime business, what we're doing in energy and industry business, continue working on product development and commercialize the Heat Power 300 system. And Carl also gave you an update what we're doing when it comes to in finance. And with that, it's time for questions. And in this session, I would like to hand over the floor to Laura, who will help us to moderate this session.
Thank you very much, Lena. Thank you very much, Carl. There are two ways to ask questions, either via the chat, or then you can also raise your hand and we will hand you the floor from here. But until that, I would still ask everybody to keep their microphones muted so that we have a smooth event. We will first take a few questions. As Lena said, we have received a lot of questions in advance. A lot of them have been the same question or very close to each other. So we will try to cover that in the first 6 questions, and then we will move on to the live ones. The first question is for Carl. A comment on the share price. It has been climbing recently. Do you know the reason for this?
Yes, thank you, Laura. Well, of course, as most of everyone knows, is that the market, of course, determines the valuation of the company every day, and the market uncertainty that has been the last years has continued also in the beginning of this year, and we could see that it has been fast developments during the beginning of 2023. But as other listed company, we do not comment on the share price as such, or any rumors related to the share. So I guess that is the answer that we can give to that, I think.
Thank you, Carl. And then Lena, over to you. When can we expect the next order to come in? And I think we also have the first 2 questions in the chat. Is the product ready for sales or it's still in testing? So maybe a comment on that as well.
Yes. So what I tried to do in the presentation was to describe this sales process that we are working with. The sales process is quite long. It's not only our system that a customer needs to take into account. It's also the cost for the installation. And we are, a number of our customers are in the process of making detailed evaluation of the installation cost. And some of them have already made an update of the installation cost. And we have had, as we also described and set in the report, we've had the first customer demos in our test site of this of this product. Yeah, that is what we can say at the moment.
Thank you, Lena. We'll continue with you. Are you working on certifying HP 300 for the American market? Is it underway, and when is the plan for to be ready?
Yeah, so we have developed this product as a platform which should be able to get most various approvals from all over the world, including US approval. So we don't see any concerns with making the Heat Power 300 system into a US approved system. We get a large number of inquiries from US, especially from geothermal business. But what we have decided is that now we focus on the marine area and also on land-based installation in Europe. So we're making it marine approved and also CE approved for the European market. And when and if we decide to enter the American market, then we will also make sure that this will be a US approved system.
Thank you, Lena. We'll continue to Maersk. Could you give us an update? What is happening there, and have they stopped the test of HP 150?
Yeah, we have a Heat Power 150 unit installed on board a Maersk vessel, Maersk Hornsburg, and this unit is in operation, and the crew on board can operate the system, and we are continuously monitoring the performance of this unit via our Climeon Live system, and Maersk is, of course, an important customer for us. And yeah, so the system is in operation, and if we would do something more together with Maersk, the natural next step will then be, of course, with the Heat Power 300 system.
Thank you. Moving on to Carl, are you able to share in advance of the presentation whether the company has been progressing well against its objectives?
Yes, I think when it comes to on the financial side, when it comes to, as mentioned during the slides covering both cost and cash flow, we are on track compared to the plan that was set during 2021, 2022. And we are, of course, monitoring that on a regular basis in order to that everything develops also going forward in the right direction.
Thank you. And then Lena, over to you. And this is the last question before we move to the live questions. So if somebody would like to raise their hand, you are free to do so now. Right now, it seems like we have no raised hands. The transition to a greener industry, especially in the north of Sweden, will create enormous amounts of waste heat. Are any of these actors involved in the discussions?
Yeah, we have several ongoing dialogues with potential customers in Sweden. And yeah, we see that there's a lot of interesting opportunities for us also now in Sweden. Previously, the Swedish market has not been that interested for Climeon because previously the price of electricity has been quite low in Sweden, and therefore it has in the past been difficult to make a good business case for our heat power systems in Sweden. Some industries in Sweden, they are quite long, so-called PPA. They can still buy electricity for at a quite low price, but we see now that that is changing. So yes, there is very interesting opportunities in Sweden, and the new manager heading this business area, he coming from this industry. So yeah, this is also an interesting market for us going forward.
Thank you, Lena. Then we will move on to the questions in the chat, and the first one is for Carl. What is the value of your current sales funnel for 2023?
A good question. Of course, as I think Lena has also described it quite well, how we're working when it comes to the sales. We have a sales funnel, definitely. However, it would have been for us to give a few forward-looking estimate if we were supposed to disclose such information at this stage. We hope to announce any development when it comes to the sales funnels in terms of new orders through press releases going forward.
Thank you, Carl. And then just maybe a repetition from before. Any update on the installations and activities in Japan? But let's take that now. So update on the installations and activities in Japan.
Yeah. What we have been doing is in Japan, we have the installations we have made in Japan are together with baseload. And as part of our cost-cutting program, we do not have an organization and a local team in Japan. We still have one service engineer there, but we don't have a dedicated team anymore in Japan. That was part of the cost saving that we did. So the focus now is instead the maritime business area and also land-based installations in Europe.
Thank you. And then a question related to the maritime market. Are you prepared for a possible catch-up effect in the maritime market?
Yes, I would say that we are. As Carl said, we have a customer list that we're working on, a project list that we are working on. And when we get when we sign an order in marine, quite often there is some time from the order until when the system should be available at the yard or at the ship owner, and then another time before it should be in operation. So yes, I would say that we are prepared for ramping up our supply chain in accordance with the ongoing dialogues that we have.
Yeah, I can, in addition to that, I can say that as you described a bit there as well, Lena, that signing an order within the maritime industry doesn't mean that delivery is about to take place the next month or so. First of all, we have a delivery time on our side, but also as Lena mentioned, the customer project also have a lead time that we need to take into account. So I share Lena's opinion when it comes to the preparation for catch-up effects going forward.
Thank you. Both. Then we move on to Iceland. Vamorka is winding down on Iceland, which is known. At the same time, Baseload Capital is taking over the assets and development. And we have a twofold question. And the first question is, why are you not communicating on that? Climeon is an owner in Baseload. And what about the site at Efrireikja in which Baseload at the moment develops? Are you hoping to sell HP 300 to that site?
I can take the first one there then. Yes, Baseload is have acquired and taken over assets on Iceland, and is also operating the modules that we have in operation on Iceland. So we're working with them when it comes to the maintenance of the product or the modules. Yeah. That is correct. But when it comes to communication from our side, that is what's happening on baseload side is something for baseload to communicate, not Climeon.
And I can take the second part of that question, and that's related to Heat Power 300. What we are doing is, when it comes to Heat Power 300, is that we are focusing on countries and applications where we see that it's a good business case for both the customers and see it as a profitable business for us at Climeon. And we have made quite detailed analysis of the price of electricity that's needed and so on. And still the price of electricity on Iceland is very low. So it's challenging to make good and profitable business cases on Iceland. So that is one of the reasons why we focus more on other countries in Europe where we see that there's a higher price of electricity.
Thank you very much. And how is the relationship between the cost of installation and hardware, for the new version?
Yeah, I can take that one. And it varies, of course, from business area to business area. In marine, the units are placed indoor, and there's already cooling available on marine because the engines are cooled with seawater, and we can take that cooling water to also cool our system. So the installation cost on board a ship, especially a new built ships, is relatively low. Still, it has a high cost because there's piping and electrical wires and other things that should be installed and connected to our units. But when we look then into land-based installations, the installation cost varies from site to site. Both that most of the time our units are placed outdoors, which means that we need cover on our units. So that is one cost. Then sometimes in our land-based sites, there is cooling available. Sometimes we or the customer needs to add cooling, and then there is an additional cost. And also the installation cost on the land-based site varies quite a lot from site to site, whether or dependent on how the installation looks like. So it's quite, it has a range, the installation cost, depending on the application and the actual site.
Thank you, Lena. Then moving on to the full-scale tests in Kista. What do you mean with that you are doing full-scale tests with customer data? Are there any details to share on that?
Yeah, so what we mean with full-scale tests is that we're doing it with a full flow. So we're not testing this in any lab scale test. We're testing it on a real module, like a module would look like when we send it out to a customer. And when we say that we base those tests on customer data, so if we take, for example, the landmark case, that's an engine power installation in UK. So we know what heat that they have available, what heat source they have available. So we take in the actual flow rate and the actual temperature range that they will use at their site, and take in that heat into our system with the same data or technical specification as the customer will be using. And we're also having testing then with the same cooling system as the customer would use. And then we measure the performance of our system according to those customer data at full flow.
Thank you, Lena. And we now have one raised hand from Mr. Fredrik Tallsten. So, Fredrik, if you can hear us, please unmute and raise your question.
Yes, Fredrik Tallsten here. I just wanted to follow up so I understood it correctly in terms of the tests in Kista. So what you mean is that you're actually warming or heating the water and you are running then hands-on tests on the machine.
Yes.
So it's not kind of simulations or something like that. It's
no. We are using hot water here in Kista with the same technical data as the customer will be using, and taking that hot water at the full flow as the customer will be using and running it through our module here in Kista, which is the full-scale customer module.
Yes, okay. I just was thinking of, isn't it very expensive? Then you have to heat the water. That is a lot of electricity. Then you produce 10% of the, or 8% or what it is. 8% of what you put in, you get out in electricity. So I guess you spend a lot of money then in the testing cycles.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, we are of course monitoring the cost of electricity exactly like we're monitoring all our other costs, and that cost is of course included in what Carl presented as part of our running cost. And we cannot test this all the time, of course. So what we do is that we run a test cycle. And we can also adapt these tests to when the price of electricity is low. So we can also test and run these test cycles, evenings, weekends, nights, and then we do analysis of this data, and then we can run a new test cycle. So that's how we are working in order, because we need to test certain things, but we also need to have a cost in place, of course. And then we try to balance those things to make sure that we get the data we want as a cost-efficient cost as we can.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting to hear that you're doing hands-on tests. Thank you.
Thank you, Fredrik. And then we are moving on to the chat, or back to the chat. We have a few questions related to a possible guidance. There has been no new customers and potential projects communicated 2022. Can we expect substantially more during 2023?
Should I go on that? Yeah, I can do that. That is of course correct. That we haven't announced or communicated any customer related or new orders during 2022. And I think that as Lena mentioned before, the product is now ready for orders. But with that said, we don't give any current estimates on when that will happen, even though that we are in certain discussions with a number of customers. So as mentioned before, we will announce any progress when it comes to orders through press releases going forward.
Thank you, Carl. And then the cash burn, do you expect current cash will be enough to reach a cash flow positive situation? And so if when in time do you expect that to happen?
Yes, and that is a question, very good question, of course. And when it comes to financing of the company, that is a question that the board is discussing on a regular basis. And I leave that to the board to come back with information regarding any of that. We don't give any comments. Currently, we don't have any new financial targets that we have disclosed. So I can't give any comment on that one currently.
Thank you, Carl. And then we move on to the customer feedback. What's the customer feedback on already installed and running HP 150, Viking, SDAB, or LKAB, Virgin, etc.? Are they happy customers, and can they recommend Climeon to other potential customers?
Yeah, the customer feedback varies. We are having customer installations which has been running for a very long time. Of the Heat Power 150 unit, for example, we have one installation at SSAB that has been running for 6 years, and we have been replacing parts during that time. And in that case, we're selling electricity to them. So we are selling electricity to them on a monthly basis from this installation, and they are a very happy customer, I would say. And then in some installations, we are either we need to replace parts, or there is some comments on the actual installation that is not working perfectly. But we're working with all our customers to make sure that they are as happy customer as possible with the Heat Power 150 units.
Thank you, Lena. And then we move on to geothermy. Is geothermy a dead area for Climeon, or not just the focus for the next quarters?
Personally, I really like the geothermal business area. I think it is a fantastic potential for the world to produce geothermal power. I mean, take waste heat from the ground and convert that to electrical power. It's a beautiful solution to combat climate change and to produce renewable electricity. And what we see with most of the geothermal power inquiries that we get is that they are further away in time than some of our others. And also the technical requirements for geothermal installations varies a lot from site to site. There is different qualities of the water, there is variations in flow rates, there's variations in temperatures. So at first, we would like to focus also on areas where we have more controlled technical requirements to place our first units on. And that is, for example, on board a ship. It's the same temperatures and type of installations in all different sites. And we see that in some of our industrial cases and in engine power plants as well, that it's much easier to design an equipment for those. And when we have that ready and those installations ready, it's easier for us then to adapt to the various technical requirements also to the geothermal power. So I would personally really like Climeon to be part of geothermal installations and geothermal market in the future, but short term, we have decided that it's better for us as a company to place our first Heat Power 300 systems on other markets and technical installations.
Thank you very much, Lena. It appears we have no further raised hands, and we have one remaining questions in the chat, but if somebody would like to raise their hand or ask something else, please do so now. Otherwise, this will be our final question. Climeon is reported to be interested in Indonesia. Do you have any comments related to that?
Yeah, I can take that. We saw that we were mentioned in an article for an Indonesian project. And since I started in August 2021, we have not been involved in Indonesia we have got inquiries from Indonesia, yes, but we have not planned to place any units there. So we actually don't know what that is coming from, if we are mixed up with someone else or if it's something that Climeon has done historically. But Indonesia is not a focus area for us at the moment.
Thank you, Lena. We have one further question in the chat. If you use a reference price of 50 euro per megawatt hour, what would be the payback time for your customers? How many units do you need to sell on a monthly basis to break even? A little bit details on the business case, it seems.
Yeah, I can take the first part of that question if I understood it fully. When we do a business case evaluation together with our customers, then it's various things that we need to take into account to base those business case evaluations on. One thing is, of course, the price of electricity. That is one important thing. Other important things is the operational hours that the equipment will run on. So how many hours per year will we produce electricity? Also, the flow rate is important, and the temperature ranges and the temperature delta between inlet water and outlet water to our equipment. So, and also there is quite large variations in the cost of the installations. So we need to have more information in order to make a proper business case evaluation.
Thank you very much, Lena. And it appears Fredrik Thalsten has another question. I know, Fredrik, you already shared it in the chat, but if you would like to take it live, that's also possible. Otherwise, I will just read your question.
Yes, I can take it. Just sometime, I think it was maybe 2 months ago, I read some communication from Landmark Power, and if I understood that correctly, they said that they are now finalizing the site itself, and then the plan was to start the installation of the waste heat recovery in Q2 2023. And then I saw in your presentation that you said that this will be implemented in 2023. So I saw a difference there in what terminology you used. And maybe if you start in Q2 2023 and you say that we will finalize it under or during 2023. So I just wanted to get some understanding there where I saw some differences.
Yeah. Landmark Power Holdings is now under construction of their first site called Rhodesia in UK. And the plan is that this site should be operational during this year, including our units. So that is the information I can give from us. But I mean, Landmark is on top of all the detailed planning, and they can also disclose more information both on this site, and they have also disclosed more information of their next projects coming after this one.
Okay, so then my understanding is that there is the same communication, so it's kind of, you start maybe Q2, but you will end it within 2023. So then, if I understand, there is no delay with a couple of quarters there also, which you are not. Then you are not the origin. If that is the case, you are not the origin for delays. So it's.
No, our units are already shipped to UK, so there should not be any delays from outside.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Fredrik. And we have one additional question in the chat. Landmark has 2 more upcoming projects. Do you expect that HP 300 will be delivered for those?
We are working very closely with Landmark, and we are a listed company, so we can only disclose any such information via press releases. Landmark is not a listed company, so they have their own information about their coming projects. It's 11 o'clock, Laura.
Yes.
So I think we need to summarize this, and thank you all for listening to this presentation, for all your questions and all your engagement. We hope that this presentation answered most of your questions. As I said in the beginning, we have received a lot of questions, and if we have not been able to answer these questions, we will come back to you, and you're of course more than welcome to come back to us as well if you have more questions. If big things happen in our company, we'll inform you via press releases, and then you have the dates for our annual report and our Q1 report here. And if you want to know more on a regular basis what's happening in Climeon, it's also good to follow us via our social media channels, and especially LinkedIn, where we publish continuous information. So thank you all of you for listening to this presentation.